and welcome to Science Nutshell. This week we're talking to Professor Kim from Stanford University on his recent publication, Sequencing the Human Genome. So, Professor Kim, thanks again for being here. Could you sum up your recent publication in 3 minutes or less?
Sure. We recently did a study where we wanted to look at the DNA sequence of the world's oldest people. So I got together with my colleagues Steve Coles and Lee Hood, and together we found 17 of the world's oldest people. These are people over 110 years old. They're very, very rare. There's only about 70 people in the United States that are of this age. And so what we wanted to find is what was their DNA secret for living so long. We know that if you live a healthy lifestyle, you might be able to live 5 or 10 extra years. But these people are living 30 years longer than everybody else. And we have good evidence that there's something in their DNA, in their genes, that is providing this enormous boost to longevity. And so we were doing an initial study to try to find out what that might be. So we got together, we found and recruited 17 of the world's oldest people and sequenced their DNA genomes. Now, if the answer was really simple, we would have found, the golden key. So what we know is that it's not simple, and that there's no single gene that is going to explain such a big effect. It must be a group of genes, or it must be things that are interacting in a more complex level. But we've made the first step. Our data is now distributed to all of our colleagues. It's being actively looked at and re-looked at. Any of your readers can download it if they can hope to find, some of the clues to extreme longevity. The reason this is interesting is that if you knew some of these people, it'd just be amazing. So one of the people was Layla Denmark. She was a physician until the age of 103. And so that's a different way of thinking about human society, is if we could stay middle-aged, highly functional, contributing to society, but for 70 years, and stay as a physician until 103. She lived alone until 106. And so we're looking for clues to stay highly functional for an extremely long time. And so these people have something that lets them avoid disease and stay healthy and alert and functional for a very long time.
Wow, thank you very much. That was amazing to hear about. And we've got a couple of questions now, if you don't mind. And as you said about how she was able to work as a physician until she was 103, we're just wondering from an evolutionary point, sort of like, what was the evolutionary benefit of her being able to live this long? Because obviously she can continue having children. So just wondering from an evolution point where you think these genes come from.
Well, that's an important question. Now, here's something important to know: that our human genome was formed not so much in the last few thousand years, but it was formed in the millennia before that. So, let's say 10,000 years ago which is a time when the human genome was under very, very intense selective pressure. What was it like? 10,000 years ago, there was something like 6,000 to 10,000 people in the world, and the median lifespan was 18. That means that there were virtually no people age 80 or old, and that means that if a person like Layla Denmark was born 10,000 years ago, that probably had no advantage to her or her tribe or her children for living to be 100 years ago, because people only lived to be 18. So everything we're thinking about, everything that's happening in old age, we think is happening outside the force of natural selection. And we think that this is not because she evolved a longer life pathway. We think she had a longer life pathway. That's an interesting question of how she got it or why she has it. But we don't think it's because of evolution.
Okay, that's brilliant, thanks. We're also wondering where the future of this research is going to go, sort of where are you going next, basically?
Well, in the immediate future, we've done some things. We've gotten a lot more data, and we've gotten a lot smarter. So I can tell you that we have really, really interesting stories in the works drawn up. We're about to submit our next paper. So there is going to be some progress into finding out genetic difference and the genetic clues for extreme longevity. And again, it's for staying functional. I would like to stay middle-aged for as long as I can, and then expand the functional parts of my lifespan. And I think there's going to be clues. I know there's going to be clues from studying extremely old people. And that is the long-term goal too. Is what is it? How can we get a hold of the very mechanisms of aging on longevity? Because if you can slow down aging, you don't just you keep people healthy. That means almost all of the diseases, aging is the biggest risk factor for almost all of the diseases. So one way to combat cancer and heart disease and Alzheimer's disease is stop them from happening by keeping people younger. Instead of letting people get to age 80, why don't we freeze them at age 50? And then people be very, very healthy at age 50. And that's the way to not cure the diseases after they occur, but stop them from occurring in the first place. So I think that's a long-term vision of a different way to approach health.
Wow, that's an amazing vision. Like the idea that we could all be living to 110 would be amazing.
Well, that is my goal. I want to stay age 40 for 100 years, and then go from age 140 to age 141 in 1 year. That's the goal for my life. You know, who knows? That's not going to happen, but that's what we want.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you very much for joining. If anybody wants to read the paper, it's on +1, and the link will be below the video. Thanks again for joining us, and thank you, Professor Kim, for doing this interview.
It was a pleasure. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.